Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Ashes of Creation Community Podcast. I'm your host, the Big Chick Giant, and today is a big day. First up, we got way more guests than we normally have, and we only have one big topic. So first up, I want to introduce Deathfire, Okies, and Shothy. How you doing, guys?
Pretty damn good.
Doing good.
Okies and Deathfire have been on the podcast before. I want to thank Okies and Shothy for being on the podcast. I know it's way too early for you guys, but I appreciate it. And we have a special guest today, which is Telkar. He is special because he was working at the PAX East booth for Intrepid Studio. How you doing, Telkar?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. All right, so like I said, only one topic today, which is PAX. So I want to know, before we get into like the information we got out of PAX, I want to know which part of PAX was the best part for you. And Shothy, you're gonna go first.
Oh, for one, I would have to say Ashes, because I've seen a lot of new things there. I didn't get much of the previous PAX, so a lot of that content was new to me, which was great. I'm really thankful that they actually streamed it. Being in a different time zone was kind of tough, but still managed to see a lot.
Okay. How about you, Okies? You're in the same time zone. How much did you see of PAX?
Sparse, unfortunately. He was more the soldier who stayed up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to watch it. I did stay up to watch the panel, the main thing I wanted to watch. It was nice to hear what you heard on the panel.
Okay. Deathfire, what about you?
My favorite thing is how much the Ashes booth kind of dwarfed some of the other booths, especially one particular game. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to bash it, but just seeing how big of a presence that Ashes had at PAX really hyped me up.
Okay. So, Telkar, you worked at the booth. So, being there, like, what was your favorite part?
Like the other guys were saying, seeing how kind of massive the booth was and kind of showing off how, professional that they are promoting the game was really kind of interesting to see. PAX West was a good event that I was at as well, but the booth was way over in the back, and not many people really got to see it unless they were kind of really exploring. But this time we were like right on the main floor, like right as you come down from the stairs into the convention center. So it was very impressive to see, and most people that never heard of the game before were immediately like, oh wow, what is this? And they come by and talk about the game, and it's just really fun to kind of sell people on what the game is and introduce them to the different team members and stuff that are out there on the floor. So
okay, all right. I think we're gonna go a little bit more into the whole subject of there being new people that never heard of the game, because I have a little surprise for everybody. Something that happened at PAX that a lot of people suspected, but wasn't confirmed till the panel at PAX, is actually now we have a date for Alpha 1. How is everybody feeling about that? Deathfire, how you happy? You excited? Or you like the complete opposite?
I'm definitely hyped because it confirmed what I was already thinking, was that they were moving ahead of schedule. I'm unfortunately not currently in the Alpha 1 phase, but I definitely want to see like how sieges actually work, since that's going to be a huge part of the game. So being able to see that this year so early on has me really excited.
Okay, what about you?
Pretty much it was running on the time frame that I thought it would be, given between there and roughly December. So it's running on schedule to what I thought, which is good.
Okay. Kathy, what about you? How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. At least now I know what month to just kind of try and figure out some free time to just work around it. I don't know. Save up my sick days.
Okay.
And yeah.
Telka, what about you? Did you know that they're gonna announce it, or were you surprised as everybody else?
There had been we were kind of internally talking about it with my guild and some other people, and thinking about how far they've made progress with the different videos and stuff, like what's in Alpha Zero, plus also on the different streams and stuff, and as well as just kind of how I'd gotten to know the team from at PAX West. They definitely were showing that they were making progress like crazy, like the other guys were saying. I expected it to be later in towards the end of the year, more like December, maybe like as a last thing, like here's your Christmas gift kind of thing. But since it's a little earlier than that, that's really awesome. I'm excited, and I think we're gonna, still slowly start to ramp up the hype again, like it was back whenever the Kickstarter started. And it's going to be a lot of attention that comes in from the wider community.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw something at you four, and whoever wants to take it can take it. Because I also read a couple, posts on the forums, a couple Discord discussions, and I even went on Reddit, and something caught my eye. A bunch of people think now that they assumed that Alpha 1 would be this summer and not in Q4. So do you guys think with Alpha 1 still being in Q4 of this year that they're gonna manage to release before 2020?
I definitely think that they're on track to meet their schedule. Seems like the testing is going pretty well in terms of getting good feedback to them. The team's growing, in terms of number of employees pretty rapidly. I don't see any, unless there's some big hiccups in the scripting of the node interactions and the wider world development. I don't really see any problems that could, slow them up. It's just time will tell,
Okay, so let's talk about let's see, what should we talk about? Okay, yeah, Sunday. The Sunday stream with Bacon and Steven. There were a lot of informations in that stream. And one of the, if you guys watched the stream, what did anything, pick out at you guys? Anything in particular? Okay.
Go.
I just want to say that I definitely want Bacon to be my mentor when it comes to level design. That was something I've always been passionate about. So seeing all the work that he got to do on the dungeon and stuff, and seeing how excited he got to be on the stream and stuff, and how he got to describe things and show off, even though he felt like he was a bit clumsy. I think he definitely talked better than I would have on stream. But yeah, that just watching all the interactions and sorry, I was interrupted. Just seeing all the interactions and seeing all the things that especially each one of the devs got to say what they were excited about and how much they appreciated the project.
Okay. What about Oki? What do you?
I love the little disclaimer. anything said around Bacon is Bacon confirmed.
Okay. Shothy, what about you? Anything special on Sunday?
It's just I felt as though it was more for the newer people, but even still, it was great to hear everything said again. And like Oki said, just the whole Bacon confirmed. He's got that little sphere of everyone kind of gets hyped up, and the moment when you see them getting talking about the game, just their excitement, it's really it's encouraging just to see them how passionate they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really nice to watch.
I agree on that.
Especially the comparison to the characters that we're going to have in this compared to the characters that some of the devs worked on in Star Wars Galaxy, and that was a huge ambitious project in itself. And to hear that Ashes is going to have even more character customization than that got me really excited.
Okay, I just want to point out, I know we have some lagging issues right now. I'm trying to fix it while I'm hosting this thing. So everybody, stick with me. I try to figure this out. Okay, so what I want to know now is another thing. A lot of people. Okay, so here's a surprise. I have 3 friends who live in Rhode Island, which is not that far away from Boston. and they never heard of Ashes of Creation. So, and I knew they were gonna go to PAX East, so I told them, hey, listen, there's gonna be a booth between right across where the Twitch booth is. So I want you to go, I want you to play the game, I want you to give me your feedback. And to my surprise, the feedback wasn't all the same. It was pretty much all over the place. One of my friends was like, oh dude, this is awesome, I love the idea behind this game, I love the graphics. And the other one brought up a topic that I also noticed people talking about, which is the combat. But Steven clearly said that from now on, the combat is going to be the main focus. So, what's your opinion on that? That they are now they're starting now to work on the combat. Deathfire.
I understand it, considering that's been like one of the number one things that they've been receiving flack on. I'm personally more interested in some of the more background stuff, like more ideas behind crafting and stuff, on how interaction with the world is exactly going to work. But the fact that they are actually adhering to a big complaint that a lot of people from the outside are seeing, I'm glad they're paying attention to it. I'm glad that they are going to touch up the combat a bit, especially since that's been one of the most number one things we've been seeing was just exploration combat.
Okay. Helga, question to you, because you worked at the booth. What was the overall expression you got from people that played when it came to that sort of topic?
I think that the people that were able to do repeat plays, get to run through multiple times, especially when the PvP aspect was up. And this is the same kind of feeling that was at PAX West as well. Is the more times you got to play, the more familiar you got with the controls, the less the glaring kind of problems with the combat. Sometimes the abilities not seeming to work the way you thought they should, and things like that would go away because you're just more comfortable with the control scheme and getting used to it. And one of the points I like to point out to people is that often when you play MMOs, you start off with a level 1 character with one attack, and you get to use that and learn how the functions go as you get more. We're starting off in these demos with lots of abilities just thrown right in. You don't have time to kind of get comfortable and familiar, or even change hotkeys or controls to the way that you prefer in an individual. So I thought that a lot of people at the booth that were somewhat experienced with MMOs they really enjoyed the potential. The kind of feedback that I got from people specifically was that that they were aware that it is a pre-alpha and that there's a lot of things that can be changed and worked on in terms of the combat and stuff like that. But I think overall the reception for it from me, talking to people after and before, was that it was extremely energetic and positive that this game is even out there on the horizon for them. So
okay. Shathi, what do you think?
Well, for one, I've followed a few games in the past, but I've never actually seen a game this early in development. So the fact that we're seeing this is brilliant, and the fact that they're actively addressing issues, so they're taking note of what the community is saying, is good. I'm eagerly waiting to see what happens.
Okay, so one of the things that a lot of people, the biggest part of the community, we actually kind of already knew this, that there's going to be racial stats. So I know a lot of people, they think because racial stats is going to cause a race meta, meaning that, if you want to play a certain tank, you have to pick whatever race. Oh, damn it, I forgot Oki's. Oki, sorry. Oki, give your answer. I'm sorry about that. Too many people. I'm getting confused.
It's okay. I'll just be quick with mine. We found it, I know what it's like with the combat, and we sent someone to go to the booth, and he knew nothing about the game, and he had the same complaint some people have about the combat, but I think a lot of people got lost in the alpha issue, where people think it's further along than it is. When I explained to him just how early they actually are, he was blown away with the game.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that's similar to what I got. I had friends that they stood in line for 2 hours, they played the game, and that was it. They didn't really talk to Steven or anybody from Intrepid. And afterwards, we had a Skype call, and they gave me a couple notes, and they said, yeah, it's fine, but it's not where it should be at that stage. And then I actually told them, hey, listen, this is not even in alpha. They're like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm not. There you go. This is the live stream. Watch it. And yeah, so I think a lot of people don't give Intrepid enough credit for the state the game is currently in. And I think, honestly, like, I cannot wait for Alpha 1, because if they done so much work in that amount of time, I really am looking forward to what we're going to see at like Alpha 1. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do think that's just an industry standard thing that people have been doing lately, where they misconstrue what Alpha 1 and Alpha 0 are. That's all.
Well, companies also kind of change their definition of what alpha is, what MMO is. So
Yeah.
they show things like they're always like hard marketing compared to Intrepid, which is trying to be completely transparent.
Yeah. Okay, so the next topic that I want to talk about is the fact that we know now that there will be racial stats, and some people brought up the issue that there might be a meta. You know, like, if you want to play a tank, you have to play a dwarf or whatever. And Steven kind of said that this will not be the case. And I personally agree on it, because we know that every race has 2 variations of it. So you're going to have a good amount of choices when it comes to race. But I also know that there are a lot of people that they like race metas. So what do you guys think about that? Telkar, what do you think?
I think that one of the big things that's going to happen is, because the big difference is that between this game and other games that are on rails, or whatever you want to call it, the theme park, is that a lot of the dungeons and stuff and the overall event structure might change on per server. So there might be an area of the world that has the same, physical raids dungeon, but it has a different type of monster in it that favors, let's say, physical damage taking, which perhaps the dwarf tank can do the best. But perhaps there is a change on, variation on that, because of the node system that makes it so that a high elf mage that's able to take magic damage more innately might have a boost. I think it's the meta will develop per server based on how the events and the nodes that make those events happen kind of evolve. That kind of strict, everybody follows the same pattern across the board probably won't work if the node system works out the way we all hope it will.
So
that's my thoughts on it.
So you're pretty much thinking towards the direction that the server and the node system itself, depending on what happens in the world, will have an influence on what race and class people pick?
Yeah, because each race might have their own thing that they do the best. For example, just a hypothetical, let's say the dwarfs have an innate better physical mitigation.
Yeah.
Just because. The fights that need physical mitigation, yeah, the dwarfs have the best at that. But if the disposition of the server is more on like needing to tank elemental damage, because those fights and then the big boss, the big events that are happening are because it's fighting some kind of elemental or something. There's all those different kinds of scenarios you can go into on the PvE side of things with this node system, where it happens, the outdoor events. Perhaps a race that's better at taking magic damage or evasion or something like that is better suited for dealing with that kind of custom nature of each node composition on the server. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Shadi, what do you think?
I'm gonna sit out on that one if you don't mind.
Okay.
It's just I'm not sure about the whole racial stuff, so racial traits, but yeah.
Okay, so what about you?
I actually had a big talk about this before. I think that people automatically jump to the combat side of it when that's not how he worded it. It could be something completely different, where, say, the racial bonuses for that is PvE based out of combat. So, like, the Tolnar might be able to find things in the world easier. So that they're tuning it around so it doesn't affect the combat directly, but it's a nice benefit in game that matches the race.
Okay. Deathfire, what do you think?
Somewhat similar to Oki's. I think like, if I remember how it was communicated, that the racial bonuses are more of like additional flavor onto the characters and like their classes and stuff. That it's mostly actually, I want to reword that. Like, not mostly cosmetic, but like it's like definitely cosmetic in appearance. So Or at least I'm hoping that, like, Tornar, when they're using their abilities, it looks different than a dwarf using their abilities, but not necessarily like what Oki's pointed out, that like it's going to be like this race has health regeneration and this race has +5 resistance to this type of magic.
Okay.
I actually meant out of combat. The benefits are all out of combat, so they're negligible in combat, which would mean that no matter what race you are in PvP or PvE, there is no clear benefit then in combat.
Yeah, I mean that's what I meant to say. Like I don't know, I'm kind of weird right now, but yeah, I'm agreeing with Oki's here that that's how it's communicated to me, that there's not necessarily something that benefits combat directly. It's more, cosmetic and out of war or out of battle.
Okay. So something that also was brought up during one of the live streams is they started talking about balancing. And I think we all know already that balancing is going to be hell. So do you guys think that the racial stats will increase the balancing issue? Or will there be a way around it?
I think the more variations you have and the more customization options, the deeper the balancing issue becomes. Especially, people are going to look to try to get the most out of whatever combination they feel is the best for a certain solution, like whatever they're trying to do with the character.
Okay.
A lot of people are even the kind of person to re-roll if their class becomes not the favored kind of thing. They might switch or have multiple different alts and only play the alts whenever those alts are the most powerful, based on the dynamic shifting of all sorts of things. But as you add racial abilities that are possibly augments to the already deep 64 class augments, with the augment system, that's going to add a lot of possibilities for things to come up that are possibly overpowered, or I don't know if they're planning on doing like a triangle based system where if this class beats this class but then gets beaten by a different one, you kind of take turns in the which one you're good at fighting. It adds a lot more depth and complexity, which is hard to do and hard to balance in the long term, especially when everyone's complaining that their class is not strong or whatever,
I mean, but in a rock, paper, scissors system, is it like a bad thing?
I don't think so. I think the rock, paper, scissors system is fun because that it's easy. I think it's easier just to continue growing, letting power grow with that, because there's always going to be someone that can counter you, and composition makes up things a lot more in terms of, like, if you have a pre-made group of people for a limited size arena or whatever, it makes the thought process and what you're expecting to come up against, especially if you know who you're going to be fighting. You can think about, well, hey, maybe we should be this group to fight them because they typically play this. So, it makes it a lot more strategic.
Okay, gotcha. Deathfire, Oki's, Shothy, what do you guys think?
Oh, I definitely think along the lines of preparation for battles. So, just like Telkar said, research in your opponents and stuff like that. But on the spur of the moment, ambushes and stuff like that, you'll have to make quick decisions whether or not to run or stay.
Okay.
So, could be exciting.
Okay. Oki's?
I know with the Unreal Engine that tweaking a lot of those numbers and stuff is quite easy, which will help them a lot. The scissor paper rock system, or the triangle system, is good because it will then denote that you will always have someone that is a bit more, say, quote, powerful than you when it comes to only versing you as that class, which then actively that you say, oh, that's a rogue, I'm a caster, I should stay away from them. There's always going to be that power indifference. It's not, no one is ever on a clean, like, level playing field for that reason.
Yeah.
And that will not, you don't have to balance that as much, where in other games it's versus everyone. In this game it will be, say, 3 people, 2 people you're stronger than, but 2 people you're weaker than. That's 2 different number scales that they can tune easily.
Alright. Deathfire, anything to add?
Pretty much everything was already communicated.
Okay. Okay, so next topic. Oh, well, topic. We only have one topic. But next thing I want to talk about It's a little bit more on the negative side. We still don't really have major information concerning the summoner. We got one bits of information where Steven said that a group of 8 summoners will be able to summon something big during sieges. But I think that's about it. I checked like earlier, but I didn't really find anything major besides that. So how do you guys feel about that? Because they promised a summoner a while ago.
They also promised Node Part 3 video a while ago too.
Well,
but,
they're working on that. They're working on that. That's confirmed.
They
They're
are working
working. They're working on that. We should be getting that anytime soon. But the summoner thing, because a lot of people, they want to know more about the bard, more about the summoner. So do you guys think that we will be getting anything of that soon? Now that we've seen what's at PAX?
Probably sometime after Nodes Part 3. I think like they're just having more internal debates of exactly how they want Summoner to work, because they don't want it underpowered, but they also don't want it to be like, the meta.
Yeah.
To where everybody has to be Summoner. Like you have to have 20 Summoners or 40 Summoners for your sieges. Like everybody Summoner, just so you can summon that big thing. And then it you don't want it detracting from all the other classes.
I'm gonna regret this so much, but I want to make a pun. That many summoners, is that gonna make it a summit?
But
That was so bad. Okay, so what do you think? Like, I know, like, I don't want to know everything about the summoner, but maybe, I don't know, some like, concept art or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm dying to get a hold of it because that's actually the class I want to play. But I like the pulling it back just in case if they don't like it. I prefer not to see it early and then have them pull it back and change it and just wait until it actually comes out. But yes, some art or a concept or just a little teaser would be nice.
Shothy, what do you think?
Like I said before, it's normally I don't see this stage of development, and it's kind of weird because people look at the game and they think what's said now is going to be it's going to be there on release. They're making it, and like they want to be as close as on the dot as possible. So I don't mind waiting to hear from Summer if it means it's going to be more accurate.
Well, we also learned a little bit about how you can, like, what you can summon, and that you can customize your summons. So I think that's something that I would really like to see really early on. What sort of summons are we gonna have? What sort of skins we're gonna get? But yeah, like just like a little bit of summoner information. I think that would be nice. Okay, so another thing that was brought up is cross-server PvP. Yeah, so the game is 50% PvP, so there's gonna be conflict almost everywhere you go. And Steven said that right now they're not thinking about doing it, but it could be introduced at a later point in the game. So I personally, I'm torn a little bit. On the one side, I would like cross-server PvP. That gives you something to do. When nothing else is going on. But on the other side, I feel like it would draw away from the meaningful conflict that is happening on the server. Deathfire, how do you feel?
I would definitely like to see it as a later day, as like a future expansion sort of deal. Definitely as like an event thing. Maybe it only happens 3 to 5 times a year, and with that, we'll like one server will have the chance to explore another server's node system and see like how different each servers are. So it actually adds to an exploration aspect, and it adds like, oh wow, like we're so much different than you guys. This is interesting. Like it's literally like somebody from America visiting a country in Europe, like it's going to be a huge difference.
Okay, what do you think?
The difference in the servers, I actually think the idea in that is amazing because it promotes a storytelling environment where you tell a story that happened completely different. It's not just you and your friends found something cool in a dungeon. It's a completely different dungeon or a different part of the world that they don't know yet, which will then prompt those people to go try that part of the world as well.
Okay. Shothy, what about you?
As long as it makes sense, like if you're going to be visiting these other worlds and stuff, the first thing I would think of is just monster tokens. That'd be a perfect opportunity to kind of introduce, like if you use a monster token, you're actually ending up in a different server. That would, in my view, would be brilliant. Just seeing a whole new city you've never seen before.
Okay, Telka, what do you think?
I think that arena style or like instanced battleground type stuff could be cross server eventually. One of the big things that I'd like, I like seeing, and what I remember the most from like old school like vanilla WoW was I knew everybody I was fighting against when I was pushing hard for like High Warlord. I knew all the enemies. We would have the clashes out in the middle of the Terran Mill and stuff like that, and I always knew who they were and what to expect. But whenever the cross server thing happened, it was really less personal and more about just getting the loot and the items. So I'd like to see it maybe someday if there's like an activity problem, but I don't think that that's really going to be an issue if there is meaningful conflict between nations and different nodes that are striving for certain resources that are limited in supply and things like that. So
okay, so one thing that caught my eye was somebody asked about mercenary guilds, and how do you guys feel that will work in an overall server situation with mercenary guilds? And because I think that mercenary guilds will have most of the benefits without having to worry about their node being destroyed, because they can always move around as a group and go wherever they get paid the most. Do you think we're gonna have a lot of these types of guilds because they don't want to deal with, hey, we build up our node but now we're a target, we just move around?
I think one of the big things to remember is that there's probably going to be some amount of like siege equipment needs for doing these kind of things. So if there's just a group of armed men running around, they're not going to have the same kind of impact as someone that has the capacity to produce or has a specialization in taking down other nodes. So if some mercenary group is calling someplace home, and that node does not have the capacity to support them for their effort, such as trebuchets and siege equipment and all that kind of stuff that you would need to actually create that environment.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to be as functional as if they possibly had their own strong node somewhere that they keep as a home base, as a kind of like the mercenary kind of town or whatever you want to call it. Maybe there's kind of like a coalition of mercenary groups that all kind of have a quasi-friendly arrangement where they all that's where they can stage out of, but perhaps it's a military node, for example. But they're probably roving bands, but roving bands aren't going to have really an impact compared to truly organized, expert, siegecraft people that are able to just they're really good at taking down and sieging civilizations. And if you're paying a premium for that,
Okay, Shathi, what do you think?
Mercenaries don't necessarily have to be strictly PvP. Like, it could be like hiring a band of adventurers to go complete a dungeon that you're not familiar with, or even just protection. So, but those mercenaries or adventurers, I'd rather call them, would need to have reasonable good gear. They would have to have experience. So, ultimately, they themselves would have to do some form of crafting and PvE as well. Otherwise, they'll have to be being paid quite a big premium in order to get that out of just doing PvP.
Okay. Deathfire, what do you think?
I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue of like too many mercenary guilds and stuff. A lot of people are going to be ambitious in this game, so they're going to be grabbing they're going to be doing a lot more than just okay, we're just going to, whoever hires us. It's like a lot of people are going to be wanting something more consistent instead of just sitting there waiting for something.
Okay. Okies, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what Shothy tipped on was a bit more accurate just because of what Stephen explained with the citizenship. You can only do certain things in the nodes or attack nodes because of the citizenship, and there's going to be a cooldown on what citizenship you can have in a different city, which means that hopping cities might not be as easy as people think. But the whole a skilled adventurer like myself or someone else who will be able to hire out and say, I can be in your party if you need me, should be a good thing. It's one of those things that can also be gathering materials or just defending someone while they're out farming, because that's going to be a big thing in the game where PvP is going to happen just while you're out farming.
Okay. Okay.
Another thing I was going to bring up real quick too is that a lot of big trust has to get developed for these mercenary groups as well. Like you're going to be paying them some amount up front, and then over time, as they complete the work, you know, is there going to be a mechanical like game system for that, like a contract system, or is it going to be something that you have to just have a deal that you make, and yeah, I'm going to give you the gold or whatever, and you got to do the job, and if they run away with the gold, then you put them on a blacklist, you know? Like, how is that going to work in the long run? So,
I mean, Steven confirmed also that in Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, they're going to play around with the Guild Alliance system. Maybe they're going to put in something in that regard, because I can see that being done really, really easy. I mean, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, okay, next topic, or well, next subject more likely. Steven, there was the question if there will be voice acting in Ashes, and Steven pretty much said there's not going to be a lot of voice acting. And how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you guys, you know, I know some NPCs that are main characters in the story, or, you know, that players going to have a reference to, they're going to have voice acting. I hope so at least. But most MMORPGs that I played, most NPCs at least have, you know, like, how you doing? Or leave me alone, or at least a grunt or something. So how do you guys feel about that voice acting? Shathi, what do you think? Do you need voice acting, or you're good with that?
As long as it isn't like you pass by them and they say their phrase, because I don't particularly want a whole I used to be an Avenger like you. Like, I don't particularly like that. But look, if it's just limited voice acting in certain key NPCs, yeah, I'm all for it. But like, their time and resources can be spent other places. I don't want to see a Star Wars voice acting style or SWTOR, where it's just immense. Like, that's a bit much.
Okay. Okay, so what do you think? Or what's your preferences? What's your preferences?
I actually agree. The issue is that so many people think that we need it. The thing where you say, like, hi there and stuff, that's actually separate to the voice acting he's talking about. He's talking about the dialogue, the big progression dialogue, and where someone voice like sentences after sentences explaining your mission, things like that.
Okay.
We don't need that in the game. A lot of people who do that in other games, they click on the person, get the quest, walk away, and leave them talking. And that's where it's just a waste of money and resource then doing those ones. For like big, like themed parts or theatrical bits in the game, like a raid, I can understand there being voice acting in there, or say the gods in the game, because they're something that's present in every world, no matter what. So they're always going to be found, so those voices will be heard all the time.
Okay. Deathfire, do you like voice acting, or you rather be like, leave me alone?
Most of the time I have the game muted so I can hear people in voice chat. So
Okay.
But I agree with Oki's that, like, if it's like a big god or a raid boss and stuff, then yeah, I would like, you know, to see voice acting in that. Like, especially in World of Warcraft, anytime a cinematic scene comes up, I mute everything else and I sit there and I pay attention.
Okay.
Because of the work in it, and because it's an epic scene. But if it's just like a quest NPC who's like, oh hey, I want you to go do this. This is happening. I was like, I'm not paying attention to that. I'll just read it. I can read faster than you talking.
Okay.
Like, I want to get things done.
Telka, you like voice acting? Or
similar kind of thing. If it's a narrative, you know, whether you know, like the big dragon wakes up and has a little thing to say, that's fine. But every NPC having a 2-hour dialogue is too much, and that's not the purpose of this game.
Okay.
You know, that's a different kind of game. So
okay. So one of the things that caught my eye was a question that had a simple answer, but opened up a whole new level of possibilities. Somebody asked, will there be something like hunting rifles for hunting in the game? And Steven clearly said, no gunpowder in Ashes of Creation, but there will be magical energy. Perhaps there will be a magical combustion-oriented thing. So that gave me a little bit to think, because now we are back to the possibility of, hey, there could be magical cannons for, you know, ships or siege stuff.
Spellfire.
Yes. So, you know, that gave me to think, because now, okay, there's no gunpowder, we get that, we know that, but there are, you know, there's magic, and if you cannot shoot a freaking iron ball out of a cannon with magic, then, you know, you might want to go back to Lord of the Rings and let Gandalf give you a little bit, you know, after school lessons. So what do you guys think about that? About that possibility that we could have something like cannons, but just with magic?
I'm fine with that. I mean, it would still kind of function the same way. So, like, instead of, like, you know, the typical cannon with a cannonball in it, it'd be like somewhat of like a small ziggurat like turret thing, and it shoots fireballs. But it pretty much will do the same thing. It just, you know, applies burn damage, or like something will just shoot like will grab rock from the earth and just chuck it through like gravity, sort of magic type of deal. So like it's pretty much same effect but different flavor, which would be interesting.
Okay. Shothy, what do you think?
Oh, the first thing I'm thinking of is missiles. Just more like D&D style, but like if you're saying magical combustion, to what end? Like really, to what end? If you're talking actual combustion and stuff like that, you could theoretically run wild with it and just say engines and cars, and just no, you could. There has to be like a clear line where it stands. I would be completely fine without guns or without gun-like objects.
Okay, but how would you do? Because here's the thing that actually got me thinking about this question. We know naval combat is coming. It was one of the stretch goals. We got the stretch goal, so we know it will be in the game sooner or later. But how will you do naval combat without, you know, something like a cannon? I always go back to that one scene in Game of Thrones where, I don't know, one army, you know, they attack the big pyramid where Daenerys, you know, the dragon lady, is holed up in, and they have catapults on ships. But that doesn't make for really good, naval combat. So I always assumed that there will be one way or another they will have something like at least cannons for ships in the game.
They could have big, like arbalest, like, you know, big crossbow basically that shoots like bolts that on fire basically, and you know, a lot of that kind of stuff, like ramming. You know, you can ram into the other ships and then board them and whatever. That's how it could go without having projectile.
Oh, okay.
Or like a mini ziggurat turret.
Some ships used to have a 4-point ballista that used to be used like a harpoon to reel ships into each other.
Okay.
For boarding.
So you guys are pretty much thinking, what's the name of the game, of the movie? 300, the second one.
Yes.
So you mean like combat in that nature where they just ram into each other and then both ships become the battlefield?
Yeah.
That's what I would think, yeah.
Also, just to point out on that combustion point, people construed that automatically to being combustion in the common sense, not magical combustion. Magical combustion can be anything related to propulsion using magic, which doesn't have to be an explosion. It can be force energy. You know, a knockback of kinetic energy can shoot a cannonball. And in that same way, that's why when we were theory crafting this about not having a gun in the game, there are magical ways you can get around that. It doesn't have to be a gun. It can be a magically in-tuned weapon that looks like a gun, but it more acts like a wand. You know, it casts an ability like fireball.
Okay. I mean, Shadi, what do you think? Wait, no. You already went, right?
Yes.
God damn it, too many people in this podcast.
That way they can actually then pass off the idea, okay, this weapon is imbued with different types of magic, therefore you would then have different like classes of magic you can have in a quote gun.
Okay.
Something I thought could be interesting is that those type of siege equipment, such as a siege cannon, could be a research tier thing that's only available to like a level 6 military node, and they have to dump a lot of time and energy into building this one type of consumable that you would commit to sieges, and it's not something that players really necessarily get in terms of everybody's got guns. You just have an item out in the field, like a military asset that's basically everybody else has trebuchets, but the military node has access to something like that, or maybe the science node. I don't know, something like that, where it's an access thing that the civilization can specialize into, getting to create one of these for a lot of inputs that to give them an advantage against their peers.
Okay, I was gonna bring this up, I should have brought this up earlier, but Ace Wolf on YouTube just made a comment that mages maybe could use the magic to fire fire through a cannon. We know that summoners can summon big things in groups, so I already thought that if it would make no sense if only summoners can do group things in sieges. So what if there is a mechanic in the game that is going to be also in the naval combat where 3 summoners can actually use a cannon-like mechanic to fire a bolt of lightning, a firebolt, an ice bolt, whatever you want.
Mages.
Mages, through something like a cannon. I mean, I can see that happening. I can see that being in the game.
If it was along those lines, that would kind of, well, my hopes if there were cannons, and I'm not too pressed for it, but if there was, hopefully you would be able to send out a dwarf.
That's a cool concept. My only issue with that is then we go into that slippery slope of what people were saying before, that then you would need something for every class to do as a group. So then you would have to start adding all those extra things as well, because that's a weird balance of what would the tank do if a group of tanks were together. It is a good concept, though.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense to me if only one type of class would have a group mechanic, and I can see every other class do something similar when it comes to sieges, and we're talking just about sieges right now.
A summon is like a jack of all trades, though, right?
Yeah.
Not a master of none.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, for example, tanks. If there are 8 in a group, they can make a real shield wall. I can see rangers doing some artillery stuff. Fighters, maybe, I don't know what can fighters do in a group. I don't know. Maybe like a
fight.
Yeah, like a ram or something. I don't know. Maybe then I don't know what could
fighters... You can do a coordinated charge.
Yeah, coordinated charge. What else we got? Mage, summoner, ranger, tank, fighter, warrior.
Rogue's pretty easy. Rogues can just do coordinated assassinations and stuff.
Yeah. That's all, right? No, bard can, they can do a battle. They can do war drums.
Yeah. Rock out.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, they can be like, oh, let's go to war.
When you say that, I just get that image when you say that of just the bit in Mad Max, and he's playing the guitar.
Yeah, exactly. Get a bunch of bards being like, okay,
all different augments.
Oh yeah, so I think it's a possibility. I think it's a possibility. I think, to be honest, in my opinion, I think we're going to see something like this, because it wouldn't make sense to me if only summoners can do something big and awesome, because then everybody wants to play a summoner, right? Or Tulka, what do you think?
I think that if it's like a one-time, let's say sieges only have like that kind of siege where you'd want to let's say it costs a significant amount of money for the reagents and the materials to start that big group summon thing. Like, you may only get to experience that summon effect maybe once every 3 months, maybe, like we're talking like you'd only want to use that on a level 5 or level 6 siege, something crazy.
Yeah.
You're still going to be able to take part in that battle. Like, if you're another class, you're still going to be there while this big golem gets pulled out of the ground or whatever you want to call it. So it's not like you're going to be missing out on it. And I highly doubt that the 8 summoners or whatever get to actually control it in a sense like where you're piloting it. It's basically just going to be a thing that you make it, and then some kind of AI, or it becomes like a boss that acts out like a plan that's set forth by the you have it has a script, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I don't think it's to be piloted by. How would you share it between all 8 people? That's kind of silly. Like, is someone just going to maintain control and that's it? I think it's just going to be kind of like how it was in if you remember back in World of Warcraft, the Snow Zone, Alterac Valley, where you did this big kind of quest for each battleground, and then this big boss gets summoned. Something kind of like that, where it's like you do that, everyone puts a bunch of money and time into doing all these things, gets the thing out, and then it just attacks the city, and you follow behind it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
gotcha.
other people, the tanks, everybody, other classes can still partake in the battle and have this giant ally beside them, but not necessarily be part of that ritual.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Speaking of Alterac Valley, it'd be nice for, the people actually still want to do all that quest stuff rather than just, okay, rush.
Yeah, I watched my brother yesterday. He was doing it, and it's kind of, like, I really hope this stuff like this never happens in Ashes, because I remember Alterac really way back, like when it first came out, and we did like all the quests, we summoned all the bosses, and now it's just rush. So I really hope that we never get to experience that, because it's just it's sad.
Yeah, it's a bottled event. This is something that every single zone, siege could play out completely differently. If there's one that's up, if there's a capital city on an island, or one that's up in the mountains, perhaps the summoners get to choose what kind of monster they summon, or what kind of artifact, like construct that they make with that big group thing, which is better suited for a different type of siege. Maybe there's one that's like, maybe they have different effects or different abilities based on the choices that you make. And, perhaps it's an unlock that the civilization can do. If there's like a, something that you discovered, or something that you can, now we can summon this old elemental that used to be the part of the world, or something like that,
Okay, does anybody have anything to add to that last topic? Because I want to jump to something a little bit different. So if anything, anybody, Oki is...
There was something. Someone just pointed out to me in a whisper that just because we summon that creature in the game too, people that doesn't have to walk towards the siege. It could be a ranged thing that they could summon too, just that throws rocks like another ballista.
Very true.
And that would then, and that would then force the people who are defending to have to send someone out to deal with that too.
Okay. Jothy, what do you think? Anything to add?
Oh, yeah, that's basically what I was thinking. Like, it just doesn't necessarily have to be a melee thing.
Okay. Well, I guess we have to wait and see, but I'm really looking forward to testing it in Alpha 1. Okay, so that's all for the PAX topics, because I want to do one last topic. Oki was supposed to be on the podcast for 2 weeks ago, but sadly, because, time zones are a bitch, it didn't work out. But Oki did something awesome. Oki did a little bit of math, and he made a chart that I'm showing now on the screen. Oki did a little bit of research when it comes to times within Ashes of Creation, meaning how much time will go by in the real world and how much time will go by in the world of Ashes of Creation. And we kind of noticed that Oki, you actually did all the work before I say something wrong. But Oki, just the overall time frame that happens in Ashes for me seems a little bit too quick. For example, if I'm reading this right, 1 month in our time in the real world is 120 days in the game. 12 months in the real world is 48 months or 4 years in the game. If I'm reading this right?
Yeah. That's off my calculation though. That could be off by a little bit because there's not all set amounts of months in a year for us, and naturally. Plus, I don't know how many months are in a year in game, so I was just going off that same factored amount.
Okay, so if we're going off this, I get the feeling that the time in Ashes of Creation is just gonna fly by way too quick for there to be any like seasonal events.
I remember at one point hearing that every week was supposed to be a season, so 1 month is a full quote unquote year. Is that what this is based off of?
Yeah,
or?
I think right. Okay, it's based on that.
Yes, that's how we were working it out. They did say that there were slight differences in how they were talking about it, because if we go off the original one, because I'm pretty sure there was 2 differences. One he tweeted, one he spoke about, and one he said in Discord. This is off the one he said in Discord, because when we worked it out in the one where it's 1 season is every week, that's actually 1 year. Our time is 12 years in game.
So
that's a times 12 factor. That's huge.
Because I'm a big fan of Halloween events. I'm currently living in Europe, but during my time in the United States, I freaking love Halloween. And I know Halloween doesn't really have to be in this game, but I always like to see some variation of a Halloween event in Ashes. And if I get this right, 1 month is 1 year. So that would mean I would have a Halloween event every month, which I think I'm okay with, but I don't know. Shathi, what do you think?
You can change the Halloween to more seasonal events, so like more of a seasonal events every month, which is kind of extreme. Like, especially if you're going into farming or anything like that, that means your crop rotation, if they do crop rotation, that would have to be extensive. You would have to be on the ball when it comes to farming. That's the first thing I think about. That is just how would that impact farming and gathering.
That's what we were looking at. There was some more theory crafting as well on the idea that with seasonal stuff, with the one I put up that was the ×3 factor, it would then, or even ×4, you would have to have stuff so it's set so that every so many years in game would be the time frame you would celebrate Halloween. So it would be our Halloween time, but it would be the time frame in game would still batch up. So every 3 years we would have Halloween, something like that.
It doesn't necessarily have to match up in terms of a chronological calendar, quote unquote, within the game's universe. It could just be something that's artificially placed there by our time, being as the gamers of it. You don't. They don't necessarily have to have any in-game events tied to specific.
When it was spoken of, they were saying about it being like, if they're going to put it in as it being law-based, like Christmas is something Steven adds as a thing that happens in the game. It's not Christmas, but it's pretty much our Christmas. Those things would then be like tied in the game. That's what we were talking about in that theory, not just outside influence. Just if they're going to put it in the game, they would have to have a way of saying, well, every 4 years we celebrate Christmas.
All right, Melgus, for those of you who don't know Melgus, he's an awesome community member, greets everybody, and, is a nice guy. He just pointed out, if they change it in Vera lore, they do it every 12 years. So, I don't know. Does that make sense?
So, like, if you want to go into the science of this, if you want to think about it, this planet could have a really wobbly tilt and could rotate around, like do that often. So the seasons could move through, and you can have multiple seasons within a year. You don't necessarily have to have it be in one orbital rotation. It could be constantly rolling around its axis in a month or whatever. And then the time-based thing is based on where it is duration-wise per the calendar year, not necessarily per season. The seasons can shift based on how the planet works. If we're talking about the science of it, like we have a rotation that works on Earth that's 4 seasons based around the tilt. But this planet could have a crazy, movement. It could have a lot more change.
With that time scale, though, what we were looking at was if it's 1 week per season, some crops only grow in certain seasons, which means you have to do it in that week, or you got a month before you can do it again. Mm-hmm. Also, with that, they're saying that if it was even in my one that I did, if it was 1 week for one season, that means in a year you have 48 seasons to do stuff in, and you got to make sure you log in and do it every week at that point. And if it takes a whole week to grow something, if you miss out, you then set yourself back another month to do that one thing. And that's what I don't think Stephen wants to have it as though you must log in every day.
What are y'all's thoughts on season severity? So basically,
you know what I would like to
it has the four seasons rotate, but then over the course of the year, it becomes deeper winter, basically, or deeper summer, if that makes sense. So like the severity of how long, like maybe there's a weight to each of so there's like a weak winter and then like a deep winter. So kind of like Game of Thrones status, like they have like a winter every year, but then when it's like the bad winters, it's like all 4 seasons are basically winter, if that makes sense. Like it kind of recovers in the summer period where you kind of, some of the snow goes away, but in like the worst part, it's like basically 4 weeks of snow. Like,
we did talk about that before, and that can be just something attributed to the rotation of the sun. So when it's our like long winter, it's the furthest part away from the sun it would be.
Right.
I like that. I mean, oh god, I don't believe I'm gonna say that. One thing Black Desert Online does well, and this is the only time I'm gonna say this, so you take that to the bank because I'm not gonna repeat it. They do nature well. They do rain well. They do seasons well. I loved the winter time in Black Desert Online when everything was snow and you had really dark nights. I honestly like I don't mind long season periods. I honestly like I'm 50-50 about the whole time issue. Deathfire, what do you think? What's your opinion?
Time issue. I do think it goes too fast. Like maybe half the time would be like okay balance, but like as like something to where like 1 year in real time would be 4 years in game or 12 years in game. It's kind of nuts. I think you would be missing out on a lot of seasons just because like you had vacation for a week or like you literally got stuck with like having to work or something. It kind of isolates players in like times and stuff.
Yeah.
What are y'all's thoughts on different parts of the world experience different types of seasons? So, like, if the map itself has geographic
equator,
south, has an equator and a north and south. So, like,
would it promote trade?
So it enforces trade because people that are in the south during the winter, it's like it would be just kind of like how it is with the real world. Like they're able to grow more crops when it's the winter for the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. So it's kind of interesting.
I kind of like that because I'm always drawn to like northern parts of every game. Like I like the whole snow Viking, be the tough guy sort of thing. That's I don't know. That's my thing. I honestly would not mind playing a game where you have 3 months of real time and it's winter. I would not mind that. And I think what people worries about this is, like Oki says, if you don't farm your crops in that week, you cannot make a certain potion for the next month. But there's also like it goes into like crafting recipes. Why should there be only one way to make a certain potion? What if it's winter now? I cannot farm this one particular plant, but I know if I travel up north, I'm gonna find somebody, or I can go and farm it myself. There's gonna be another plant that I can farm to make this potion.
That would be the market. Anyway, like people would have stockpiles of stuff, so you could buy the material. It's more the idea of if you're the person who's going to supply the material, that's the issue. Because then if you miss out, you've missed out on a money opportunity.
Yeah.
What about also, like, let's say you're a master herbalist or whatever, you're able to grow. During that season, those kind of herbs could be found in the wild, but if you're the master herbalist, you might be able to grow that at your freehold where no one else that's not capable or skilled enough can grow it in the off season. So it gives you kind of a supply advantage whenever they can't be gathered in the wider world.
Yeah.
Like a greenhouse.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. I just honestly, now that I really think about it, I don't like there to be 4 seasons in a month. I don't know. It just feels weird to me. I don't know why.
I'm pretty sure that was the old quote. That's what I was saying. That's why I did the math on ×4.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure he said that's how it was going to work.
So, 1 week is going to be a month. So
pretty much.
So 1 week is going to be a month. You're going to have 4 months in 1 month. Did I read this right?
Yeah, that's
right.
So 1 year in our time equals 4 years in game.
So 1 year is 4 years. It means you have 4 seasons in 1 real life year. Right?
No. You times that by 4.
And times that by 4.
You have 12.
I have 12 seasons in 1 year.
16. Sorry.
16 seasons. So 16 years. No, wait. What? 16? No, wait, I'm doing the math now. Okay, so I have to prove your math. I have to check your math.
Okay. It is 6 o'clock in the morning, so I am a bit struggling.
Yeah, don't worry, man. I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're here. So, yeah, 1 real life year for us mortals, would be 4 years in game if we're going based on times 4. So yeah,
Which would be 16 seasons in the game.
yeah, 16.
In a year for us.
So I would have 4 winters in 1 real life year.
Mm-hmm.
How do I feel about that? How does chat feel about that? I've been kind of ignoring chat right now. I'm sorry.
I know I went off 3, the factor of 3, just because it lessens that load a bit. It goes from 16 down to 12, which is a better rounded number. Then so we have 12 seasons in a year. It's a little bit less for how many weeks are in a week for us, but then it would equate to 3 weeks being 1 week. But that meant that it's only 3 days per day, and the hour times are different. So if there's anything that's specific in the game, like you have to be at this part of the world at this time of the day, you're not going to have to sit there and try and quickly jump on it in that 2 minutes of the time frame because it's going through so quickly.
Yeah, I think.
Especially if there's say flowers that come out at night, the quicker that time frame is, the quicker you can miss it.
I think honestly, I don't like anything. I think I could do times 2, but not times 3 or 4. Shothy, what do you think?
Times 3 would be brilliant because that would mean it'd be times 2. It's kind of like you'd either be always seeing it at night. Some people would always they would see Ashes as a nighttime. So times 3, you'd kind of see everything. Because some people can only come on after work or before work, depending.
That's why I like the 3-to-factor ratio, just because then it gives people who are working a time frame that they can get on and still be like, oh, it's a day-night cycle still.
But too high, it just, I don't know, like...
But wouldn't times 2 also fill that quote?
But then if say... 2.5. If you go off 2 times, it means that when you're playing, you would have to be in-game for, 6 hours to get a day-night cycle?
Yeah.
So if you do it the other way, it's 3 hours. The 3-hour period would be a lot better. Because that means that if you can only play for a certain amount of time per afternoon, say, before you go to bed, 3 hours is a good middle ground that can say, okay, I can jump up for 3 hours, do whatever you want on a day that you're not, say, raiding or PvPing.
Okay.
It gives you the time frame to do stuff in that whole day cycle.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So 30 days would be 3 months. So 1 month would be 1 season. So 1 year would be 3 years.
Yeah.
So you would have 3 winters in 1 year.
Yeah.
I feel as though it's something to test.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Can they really test it?
Yeah, they can. I mean, all this stuff.
That's a number.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's literally a number where where you turn up and down the speed of the video. They can just factor in that, and I'm pretty sure the math will change it.
They may also have to do it off of balancing too. Like if they end up doing like regional support for like northern side has heavier winters, etc. The equator doesn't. They may end up having to balance that around production capacity during the seasons for each of the nodes.
Yeah, I guess we have to wait and see.
It's a hard middle ground because if you go too slow, people miss out on content because they're at work or whatever. If you go too fast, people have the chance of missing it just because they weren't on that specific time.
Yeah, guess we really have to wait and see. I don't know. It's gonna be weird because most games that I played, they have just seasons like we have in real life, like Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, like there's online. So
that's why I said I do like the factor of 3. Factor of 4 is okay, but it feels a little bit too fast for me.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a raid and say the raid takes 4 hours, that's a full day. You've killed most of your day.
Okay, so actually, we went a little bit over. I want to thank you guys for joining. If anybody in chat has a question for us or wants something, or if there's anything you guys want us to talk about, now would be the time. I want to especially thank Okis and Shathi for making it, because I know it's way too early for you guys. I would not have woken up. So thanks for that. I really enjoyed this talk. We should do this again, like in 2 weeks, if you guys want. And yeah, so this is the part of the podcast where you guys can plug yourself, your guilds, your social media, your YouTube, your Twitch, and while I try to find a question that we can answer before we go our separate ways. So we're gonna go from bottom to top. Shathi, you go first.
Yo, I'm Shathi. That's it.
Okay, everybody, you heard that? It's Shathi. Round of applause for Shathi. Okay, Okis, it's your turn. Wait, Shathi. Wait, time up. You don't want to plug your guild?
You know that half the people here are in.
Yeah, that's why I'm like.
I was gonna just wait afterwards, or let you to bring it up, because it's kind of like there's quite a few of us here.
Yeah. I'm so surprised about that. What are you guys talking
It's
about?
more. I always thought of this more of a community thing than a guild thing.
But still,
And that's how we look at it. We are part of a guild, but we come here as a community member, not as the guild itself.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But you guys can still plug your guild. This is what I do this podcast for. Want to plug your guild? Now is your turn. Chance. If you don't do it, I do it. Okay.
Okay. Most people know me already. If you don't, you can find me on the Discord. I'm there almost every day. And yes, we are a part of the Guild Mutiny. We're on most days. If not, one of us will be on sometime. Yeah, that's mainly what it is. You can find us on the Discord normally every day.
Deathfire.
I am Deathfire. Once again, part of Mutiny. The other two. Sometimes I'm on Discord. Whenever I'm on there, if you just want to have a discussion with me or something, just DM.
Alright, nice. Telka, what about you?
So I'm the guild master of Sons of the Seven. We're a mercantilism and PBX focused guild, NA based, and it was a pleasure to come on the show. And I know that some of the other people have met me at PAX East and PAX West. I'll be going to as many of the cons as I can and trying to be a front runner in terms of going to that to get more content out to the community. So
there you go. You see that? That's how you plug yourself. God damn it. Okay, so we got one question from Ace Wolf on YouTube. He's asking us to talk a little bit about Underrealm creatures.
Tolnar.
Yeah, we won't see them for quite a while.
Yeah.
We're gonna see them before Alpha 2.
Yeah, but not early, because the racial part is not part of balancing, so it doesn't have to be in the game early, and they'd rather get the balancing and stuff down first.
Okay.
So I like that idea, because the race is just a fluff thing at that point.
Okay.
It's not something urgent. With Underrealm creatures, with Underrealm creatures, we've only seen one really, the one in the video.
Yeah.
Which was the bioluminescent creature. I'm assuming, depending on the zone and stuff like that, we're going to have similar things in different zones. Different creatures might be the same creature from above world, but also underworld creatures.
I mean, okay, like what I would like to see is like a salamander that can ride or climb on the walls and the ceiling. You know, like you have a mountain and you can go up
Ocarina
the
of
wall.
Time type salamander.
Yeah, like amount you can go up the wall.
That'd be me.
To respond to Ace Wolf's question, comment, no, Tolnar, it's a humanoid with mammalian, so mammal features and reptile features, not minimal.
All right, Deathfire. Okay, anybody got any idea for Underrealm creatures? Anything you would like to see? Anything? Telcar, what do you like to see?
I mean, so far we've seen the Underrealm being a really colorful place with lots of bioluminescence. I kind of also want to see some areas that are pretty dark and more gloomy with magma and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of things from fantasy and stuff like that that could be cool to be in that kind of unlit kind of blind eye kind of environment where you really have no light to see from. Except
They did show that. They showed that in one of the early Mage video features, where they actually bring out a light source. So that looks like it could be a thing. I also, something that just got pinged to me immediately as the question come up. They're hoping for some sort of corruption-based creatures in the Underrealm as well. So maybe a part of the Underrealm that was touched by the corruption.
Oh, I could see that. As long, and I really hope Steven is watching again, as long as there are no mushrooms.
Evil mushroom creatures.
Honestly, I love the guys from Intrepid. You guys do amazing work. I love everything you do. But let's cut it with the mushrooms.
Maybe less mushrooms.
No, less
Still have
mushrooms.
mushrooms, just less.
Yeah, just less and smaller and just a lot less for other areas of the game. Right?
I'm actually intrigued to see what other creatures are going to be like. Because we've seen the cat-type creature.
Yeah.
We saw the little surprise plant creature. A few other small ones during the video, but we haven't seen other things like a bird-type creature, maybe a bear. Even we saw a hint of a horse, but something more reptilian. The different diversities we haven't seen yet.
I want to see an Underrealm world boss.
Yes.
Fuck yeah. Like a big spider.
It would have to be a gelatinous cube.
Isn't that what Sorrow was for? The one from last year's packs?
Yeah.
Wasn't he technically an Underrealm boss?
Yeah, I believe so.
Was he? But I mean, like
That big cave thing was, yeah.
But still, I would like to see like a big stone dragon or a giant spider, humanoid hybrid.
Cockatrice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm dying to see. You know, I'm dying to see a dragon in the game.
Oh yeah. Like,
Same.
Yeah.
Two things: summoner and dragon.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So that's actually it for today. Does anybody want to say anything, add anything? Otherwise, we're done for today. We went way over the normal time.
I got something to say.
Malgus did have something to say in the chat.
Alright, I'm checking. Oh, Steven uploaded. Oh, okay. There's a new picture of a new mount on the Discord, which we're all gonna go check out in a couple minutes. But if nobody has anything to add, I would say we're done. So,
I got one thing.
okay.
Can somebody out there please create a Bard Mercenary Guild? Just, be hired to buff all the other guilds trying to do sieges or like caravanning stuff. Just be our minstrels, please.
That would be awesome.
Somebody do it.
I think somebody will if you make a request.
They can call it. I can call them the rallying cry.
Okay, everybody. Thanks you for joining me. Thanks everybody for watching, and stay safe. And we will see each other on the community Discord. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Catch you later.
Bye.